comes a moment in every story when pain steps in like an uninvited guest. It doesn't knock. It doesn't ask permission. It just walks in, sets its weight down on your heart, and dares you to break. It tells you that the version of yourself you were before the heartbreak, the disappointment, the loss is gone forever. It whispers that you'll never smile the same again, never trust again, never love again. But what pain doesn't know is that it can touch your feelings, but it can't touch your foundation. It can shake you, but it can't destroy what was divinely built inside you. You see, pain doesn't define you. It refines you. It exposes the fragile things, the temporary things, the things that were never meant to last. When the storm hit, it didn't come to end you. It came to reveal what could no longer go with you. Sometimes the breaking isn't punishment. It's preparation. It's God, the universe, or whatever name you give to the sacred, saying, there's more in you, but I have to clear the space first. You thought you were losing everything, but really, you were being stripped of what couldn't carry the weight of your future. The pain wasn't meant to make you bitter. It was meant to make you better. It was meant to awaken something strong and untouchable inside you. Because when pain comes for your peace, your identity, your hope, that's when love starts to rise up in defense. Not the kind of love that's naive or soft, but the kind that's fierce, wise, and unshakable. When life hits you hard, you might have asked, why me? But maybe the real question was, what's being built in me through this? Every scar you carry is not a sign of defeat. It's a symbol of survival. You made it through what was meant to destroy you. You walked through the fire and came out with wisdom in your walk and purpose in your voice. That's what refined love looks like. Love that's been tested by pain and still chooses to show up. The truth is, pain has a strange way of becoming the teacher you never asked for but always needed. It shows you what you believed about yourself, what you tolerated, what you hid behind. It peels away the layers until you meet the real you, the one who's not performing, not pretending, not trying to prove anything. And in that raw, honest place, love starts to rebuild. It teaches you that even in your brokenness, you were still worthy. Even in your tears, you were still chosen. When pain tried to define you by what happened, love came to remind you who you are. Love said, you are still the one I created with purpose. You are still capable of joy. You are still powerful, even in your healing, because love doesn't erase the memory of pain. It rewrites the meaning of it. What once looked like an ending becomes evidence of endurance. What once felt like destruction becomes a doorway to transformation. There's something powerful about realizing that what tried to take you out was actually pushing you into alignment. That heartbreak that made you question everything, it was really positioning you for clarity. That loss that made you feel empty, it was preparing room for something greater. Pain breaks what was never meant to stay, but love builds what was always meant to last. You didn't lose your strength when you were broken. You found it. You didn't lose your value when someone failed to see it. You discovered it for yourself. You didn't lose your voice when life silenced you. You learned how to speak from a deeper place. That's what happens when pain refines instead of defines. It makes you real. It makes you aware. It makes you ready. So, if you're standing in the middle of something that feels like the end, breathe. You're not being buried. You're being planted. The same soil that feels heavy today will one day hold the roots of your growth. The tears you're crying are not wasted. They're watering your next season. You are not broken beyond repair. You are being refined into something stronger, softer, wiser, all at the same time. Pain may have written a few chapters, but it doesn't get to write the whole book. The pen still belongs to love, the kind that mends, restores, and reminds you that nothing tried to destroy you could ever stop what was destined for you. You survived what was meant to destroy you. And now love is about to show the world what pain could never erase. Healing doesn't start the moment you say, I'm fine. Healing starts the moment you whisper, I'm not. It begins when the mask slips off. When the smile that's been holding everything together finally cracks, and the truth you've been running from finally catches up. We live in a world that celebrates strength, but misunderstands what it really looks like. Strength isn't pretending you're okay when your soul is bleeding. Real strength is standing in your truth, trembling, tired, uncertain, and still saying, this is me right now, and I'm still choosing to heal. For so long, you might have been the strong one for everyone else. The one who shows up even when she's empty. The one who smiles when her heart is heavy. The one who keeps giving when there's nothing left to give. But healing doesn't happen in the performance of perfection. Healing happens in the pause, in that sacred space where you let yourself fall apart without apology. Because pretending doesn't protect you. It only delays your peace. The world will tell you that being broken is weakness, but that's a lie meant to keep you silent. There is something holy about being honest with your pain. It's in that honesty that love begins to move. Love can't heal what you keep hidden. You can't bandage wounds you refuse to look at. And sometimes it's not the pain that keeps us stuck. It's the pretense, the need to appear healed before we've even started the journey. When you stop pretending, you give love permission to work. You give yourself permission to feel, to cry, to release. And in that space, you'll realize that healing isn't a straight line. Some days you'll feel strong and centered. And other days you'll wonder if you've made any progress at all. But every tear, every prayer, every quiet moment where you choose to keep going, that's healing. It's messy, it's slow, but it's real. You don't owe anyone a version of yourself that denies your truth. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is admit that you're not okay right now, because honesty breaks chains that silence can't. When you tell the truth about your pain, you take its power away. It stops controlling you from the shadows and starts releasing you into freedom. And the moment you start telling the truth, love begins to whisper. You're not too broken to be healed. You're not too lost to be found. Maybe you've been taught to push through, to stay busy, to outrun the ache. But healing doesn't live in avoidance. Healing lives in acknowledgement. It lives in the quiet courage of showing up for yourself when no one else can. You might not know where to start, and that's okay. Healing often begins with the smallest act of honesty. Saying, this hurts. Saying, I miss who I used to be. Saying, I don't know how to move forward, but I want to try. Those confessions open the door for transformation. You have to allow yourself to be human, to feel deeply, to break openly. Because you can't heal from what you pretend doesn't exist. And when you let the truth breathe, love fills the cracks, pain left behind. You start to see that every tear you tried to hide was watering something within you. Resilience, compassion, empathy. You start to realize that the very thing you thought would destroy you is teaching you how to rebuild from a place of honesty and grace. There's beauty in the breakdown when you stop resisting it. Sometimes the most sacred healing happens in silence, when you're alone in your room with your hand on your heart, whispering, I'm still here. Sometimes it happens when you finally tell someone, I'm tired of pretending. Healing isn't about fixing yourself. It's about finding yourself. The version of you who knows how to love again, how to trust again, how to breathe again. And here's the truth. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel pain again. It means pain will no longer define you. You'll cry, but you won't drown. You'll feel the sting, but it won't consume you. Because every time you choose truth over pretense, you choose freedom over fear. You begin to see that the real power isn't in being unbreakable. It's in being unafraid to be real. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of honesty, stronger, softer, freer. She doesn't hide behind, I'm okay. She stands in her truth and says, I'm healing. And that's enough. That's powerful. That's beautiful. Healing begins the moment you stop pretending you're fine and start trusting that love is strong enough to meet you exactly where you are. We've been taught to look for love in the grand gestures, in the romance that sweeps us off our feet, in the validation that says you're enough because someone else sees it. But sometimes the love that heals doesn't come with fireworks or fancy words. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the moments you least expect it, in the spaces that don't look like love at all. The kind of love that Mends isn't always romantic. It's often the love that stays when the spotlight fades, the love that holds you when no one is watching. The love that meets you in your mess and still calls you worthy. Maybe for you, that love showed up in a friend who didn't ask you to explain your silence, but simply sat next to you while you figured things out. Maybe it came from a mother's prayer whispered in the dark when she felt your pain before you could speak it. Or maybe for the first time it's coming from within, the moment you realize that you are allowed to love yourself back to life. We spend so much time chasing love that validates us that we forget about the love that sustains us. Real love doesn't just tell you you're beautiful. It helps you remember it when you've forgotten. Real love doesn't demand you to be perfect. It sees your flaws and still stays. The kind of love that heals isn't about romance, it's about restoration. It's the love that sees what pain tried to erase and says, "You're still in there. You still matter." You see, healing begins when you start redefining what love really means. It's not just candlelight dinners and promises under the stars. It's the forgiveness that frees you from bitterness. It's the laughter that sneaks in after weeks of tears. It's the moment you catch your reflection and smile, not because everything's fixed, but because you're learning to love the process of becoming whole again. There's a love that doesn't come to impress you. It comes to anchor you. It's the love that whispers peace when your thoughts are racing. It's the love that reminds you to breathe when the world feels too heavy. Sometimes it's the divine presence that holds you in the stillness. It's not speaking, not fixing, just being with you until the ache softens. That's love too. The kind that doesn't always look like a person, but a presence. The kind that doesn't demand, it just restores. And then there's the most difficult love of all, self-love. The one that requires you to look at your scars without shame. The one that asks you to forgive yourself for all the ways you abandoned your own heart, trying to be enough for others. Self-love isn't vanity, it's survival. It's the radical decision to stop waiting for someone else to save you and start showing up for yourself instead. It's saying, I deserve the same love I keep giving away. Because the truth is, sometimes the person you need to fall in love with again is you. The you who stopped believing in her own strength. The you who gave until she was empty. The you who forgot that she too deserves gentleness. When you start loving yourself, you start teaching the world how to treat you. You stop settling for half-hearted love because you've learned to give yourself the kind that's whole. And when that kind of love takes root, it changes everything. It changes how you see your past, not as a collection of failures, but as the soil that grew your resilience. It changes how you move through the world, no longer begging for love, but becoming it, because love isn't something you chase. It's something you embody. When you live in that truth, the people and things that match that frequency begin to find you. The love that heals is steady. It doesn't rush your process or question your pain. It's patient with your growth. It's kind to your journey. It knows that sometimes healing looks like laughter and sometimes it looks like tears. It doesn't leave when you're hard to love. It leans in closer. That kind of love doesn't always wear a romantic face, but it always leaves a permanent mark. If you've been waiting for love to come in a certain form, maybe it's time to open your heart to the kind that's already around you, in the sunrise that greets you each morning, in the peace that meets you in prayer, in the simple grace of still being here. Love is everywhere when you stop searching for it in the places that broke you. Sometimes love doesn't show up holding your hand. It shows up holding your heart. And when it does, it reminds you that you don't need to be chosen to be worthy. You already are. The kind of love that heals isn't always found in someone else. Sometimes it's the love that awakens within you when you finally remember who you are. There's a moment in healing when you realize you can't keep standing in the same place where your heart broke and expect to feel whole again. You can't heal in the same environment that hurt you, around the same energy that drained you, or near the same voices that once silenced you. Growth and healing don't happen in the comfort of what's familiar. They happen in the courage to walk away. Sometimes love mends by moving you by pulling you out of what once felt safe and into what's actually sacred. It's hard, isn't it, to leave the place where you invested your time, your heart, your loyalty, to step away from people who once made you feel seen, to close a door you prayed would open differently. But there comes a point when you have to choose peace over familiarity. You can't heal if you're still standing in the ruins, trying to rebuild with the same hands that broke you. Some chapters aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to be finished. You see, healing isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. It's about realizing you can't carry it into your next season. There's a weight that comes with staying where your spirit no longer fits. It's the heaviness that keeps you second guessing your worth, that whispers you should settle because leaving looks lonely. But healing asks for separation. It asks you to trust that distance isn't rejection, it's protection. When you step out of the storm, the quiet might scare you. You'll miss the noise, the chaos, the patterns that once defined your days. But silence is where you finally hear yourself again. It's where you reconnect with the sound of your own voice, the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Healing requires stillness, not distraction. It requires the bravery to say, I can't stay here anymore, even when your knees are shaking and your heart is uncertain. There's something sacred about walking away, not in bitterness, but in peace. When you stop trying to force people to see your value, you begin to realize your worth was never meant to be proven. It was meant to be protected. Every time you take a step toward your peace, you're honoring the version of you that stayed too long, that tolerated too much, that kept hoping something would change. And maybe leaving isn't about giving up. Maybe it's about finally choosing yourself. The truth is, healing requires space. You can't hear the truth about who you are if you're surrounded by voices that keep reminding you of who you were. You can't step into new growth if you're standing in old soil. You can't breathe freely in an atmosphere built on old pain. Sometimes God, the universe, or life itself will disrupt your comfort because peace can't grow where pain keeps repeating. You may have to let go of people you love, places that feel like home, or dreams that no longer fit. And that's not failure. That's evolution. Leaving doesn't mean you stopped caring. It means you finally realized your healing matters more than holding on. You can love people deeply and still know you can't stay connected to their chaos. You can honor what something once was and still know it's no longer what you need. Healing isn't always about adding. Sometimes it's about subtracting, about learning that less noise, fewer people, and quieter spaces can bring more clarity than you ever imagined. When you remove yourself from what broke you, you give yourself room to see differently. You begin to notice the light that was hidden behind the hurt. You start to breathe in peace that doesn't come from someone else's approval. You rediscover your power, not because someone handed it to you, but because you took it back. Healing teaches you that you can't control how others treat you, but you can control what you allow to stay connected to your spirit. And yes, it will hurt at first. Healing always does. It will sting to let go. It will ache to detach from the familiar. But the ache is temporary. The peace is permanent. What once felt like an ending will reveal itself as a beginning. And as you move forward, you'll realize the distance you created wasn't to push people away, but to bring yourself closer to wholeness. You owe it to yourself to create an environment that mirrors the peace you're praying for, to choose people who water your growth, not drain your strength, to build spaces where love feels safe again, where you can breathe without fear of breaking, because healing doesn't mean you return to what hurt you. It means you've learned to protect what healed you. So if your heart is pulling you towards something new, don't fight it. Don't shrink yourself to fit into what you've already outgrown. You can't heal in the same place you were broken. You were never meant to live in your wounds. You were meant to rise from them. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's the loudest declaration of self-love you'll ever make. There comes a moment in your healing when pain stops being the loudest voice in the room. It doesn't mean it disappears completely. It just means it no longer gets to lead. The same pain that once stole your breath starts losing its power when you choose to love again, to hope again, to believe again. Wholeness doesn't mean the scars are gone. It means they no longer define your story. It's when you realize that even though pain tried to destroy you, love still had the final word. You can't live your whole life rehearsing the hurt. You can't keep reliving what broke you and expect to feel free. At some point, you have to decide that pain had its turn. Now peace gets the mic. That's what wholeness is. It's when you stop identifying with what happened to you and start identifying with who you became because of it. It's the quiet confidence that says, yes, I've been through it, but I'm still standing. I'm not bitter. I'm better. Pain is loud when your heart is still tender, when you're still trying to make sense of the pieces. But as you heal, something shifts. The volume turns down. You stop needing explanations, apologies, or closure. You realize that your peace matters more than your proof. That's what wholeness feels like when you stop needing validation for your pain and start creating meaning from it. You might look at your life and think, I don't even recognize myself anymore. And that's okay. That's growth. You were never meant to stay the same after everything you've survived. Pain reshaped you, yes, but wholeness rebuilt you. The woman, the man, the soul standing here now isn't weaker. They're wiser. They love differently, speak differently, move differently. There's a softness in their strength and a strength in their softness. That's what happens when pain meets love and loses. It's easy to let pain narrate your story, to let it tell you who you are and what you deserve. But healing demands that you take the pen back. You get to decide how the story ends. You get to turn what was meant to break you into the very thing that builds you. Wholeness doesn't erase the past. It redefines it. The moments that once felt like curses start to look like lessons. The people who once hurt you become teachers of boundaries, not reminders of betrayal. The nights you cried become proof of endurance, and suddenly what was meant for harm becomes holy ground. When you reach that place, you stop living in survival mode. You start living in purpose. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop shrinking for comfort and start expanding in peace. Because wholeness gives you clarity. It lets you see that the pain wasn't random. It was refining. Every heartbreak was carving out space for deeper love. Every loss was creating capacity for greater compassion. Every fall was setting you up for a rise you didn't see coming. And let's be honest, wholeness takes time. It's not a switch you flip. It's a rhythm you grow into. It's waking up one day realizing the memory doesn't sting like it used to. It's laughing again without guilt. It's trusting again without fear. It's being able to look back at your scars and say, I made it. It didn't destroy me. That's not denial. That's transformation. You can still remember the pain and not live from it. That's when you know you're whole. Wholeness isn't about perfection. It's about peace. It's about knowing that even when everything around you feels uncertain, there's a calm inside you that refuses to be shaken. It's the deep breath after the storm, the steady heartbeat after the chaos. And when you live from that place, you stop being defined by what hurt you and start being known for how you healed. There's power in reaching the place where you no longer chase closure from others because you found it within yourself. When you stop waiting for the apology that may never come, when you stop trying to rewrite the past and instead say, that chapter taught me what I needed to know. That's when you step into wholeness, when pain becomes a paragraph, not the whole book. So if you're still walking through the process, don't rush it. Let love keep doing its work. Every day you wake up and choose peace over pain, you're winning. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, you're growing. Every moment you smile despite the memories, you're healing. You may not see it yet, but something sacred is forming beneath the surface. Pain tried to silence you, but your wholeness will speak louder. Because when you choose love after pain, when you choose peace after chaos, when you choose to rebuild instead of remain broken, that's when wholeness becomes louder than the pain that tried to destroy you. There's something powerful about the way love rebuilds. It doesn't just patch the cracks or cover the scars. It restores from the inside out. When pain has torn through your heart, When you've been left in pieces wondering if you'll ever feel whole again, love doesn't rush in to erase what happened. It comes quietly, patiently, with hands that don't judge your brokenness, but honor it. Because real love doesn't just repair what pain destroyed. It transforms it. It turns what was once a wound into a testimony. You might look at your life and think, too much has been lost. Too much has been broken. But love has this sacred way of stepping into the ruins and saying, I can work with this. Love doesn't need perfect conditions to thrive. It blooms even in the aftermath of heartbreak. It finds beauty in the rubble. It takes what pain meant for destruction and builds something even stronger, something unshakable. The kind of love that mends doesn't deny your past. It redeems it. There was a time when you thought the story was over, when you believed nothing good could grow from what fell apart. But love, real healing love, has a way of writing new endings in places you thought were permanent dead ends. It's the hand that reaches for you when you've stopped reaching for yourself. It's the voice that says, you're still worthy, even when your reflection tells you otherwise. Love rebuilds not by pretending the damage never happened, but by showing you that you were never destroyed, just being redefined. It's easy to think that being broken disqualifies you from wholeness, but maybe the breaking was never about losing. Maybe it was about rebuilding differently, stronger, deeper, wiser, because every time life shatters you, love has an opportunity to put you back together in a way that pain never could. Every piece that once felt out of place becomes part of a masterpiece. Every scar that once brought shame becomes a symbol of strength. Love doesn't erase the evidence of pain. It reimagines it. When love rebuilds, it doesn't use the same materials pain did. Pain builds with fear, doubt, and defense. Love builds with grace, patience, and truth. Pain tries to harden you, make you guarded, make you believe that vulnerability is weakness. But love, real love, softens you without breaking you. It teaches you that you can be strong and gentle at the same time. It reminds you that you can protect your heart without closing it off. Love rebuilds in a way that honors your growth. It creates space for your soul to rest. There's a different kind of confidence that comes when you've been broken and rebuilt by love. It's not loud or flashy. It's quiet, grounded, peaceful. It's knowing that what used to break you no longer has power over you. It's realizing that love didn't just heal the surface, it rebuilt your foundation. You stand taller not because the pain is gone, but because you've learned it couldn't keep you down. Sometimes the rebuilding happens slowly. You start to notice small moments of peace that weren't there before. A morning that doesn't ache, a laugh that feels genuine, a memory that doesn't sting the same way it used to. That's love too. Love showing you that healing doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It mends you quietly, piece by piece, until one day you look around and realize your life feels light again. You begin to thank the pain that once broke you because it taught you what real love looks like. Not the kind that hurts, but the kind that heals. But the kind that heals. You begin to understand that the heartbreak wasn't the end. It was the clearing. Pain tore down what was false so love could rebuild what was true. What once felt like destruction was really divine construction. The dismantling of what couldn't hold you so something stronger could. And maybe that's the most beautiful part of all, that nothing you've lost is wasted. Every tear watered the ground where something new would grow. Every disappointment created the space where love could breathe again. What pain tried to destroy, love used as raw material for restoration. You don't come out of it the same. You come out of it better, softer, yet stronger, wounded, yet wiser, broken, yet beautifully rebuilt. So if you're standing among the pieces right now, unsure of how to start again, trust this. Love is already rebuilding. Even when you can't see it, even when you can't feel it, the process is unfolding. You won't stay in the ruins forever. The same love that once held you together before the storm will hold you again after it.